Welcome to Vinexposium podcast on Wines of the Future. Where are we coming from? Where are we now? And where are we heading? My name is Gabrielle Vizzavona, and with top international experts, we'll be discussing the past, present, and future of the wine industry fast forwarding 50 years. We are so glad to welcome for our futuristic chat about sparkling wine category, Jean-Baptiste Lecaillon. Hello, Jean-Baptiste.
Hello, Gabrielle.
How are you?
I'm great. Thank you.
Jean-Baptiste, it's been 33 years that you have been with Champagne Roederer and 23 as the cellar master. You are the magician behind the confection of Roederer champagnes and its infamous Cuvée Cristal, and the one who looks after the 242 hectares of the family-owned estates. Since you've joined, you have been raising the bar, continuously advocating for organic farming, which was a first for a house that size. You also supervise the production of Roederer's affiliated estates, including Roederer Estate and Domaine Anderson in California, Ramos Pinto in the Douro Valley in Portugal, Domaine Hôte in Provence, and a few chateaux in Bordeaux. You are also co-president of the Commission Qualité et Développement Durable of the Comité Champagne, so the interprofession. We could translate that as the Commission for Quality and Durability, and a board member of the Champagne Appellations, the Champagne Viticultural Area. It's been a long time that you work in the Champagne area. What are the most unexpected changes that you acknowledged in terms of sparkling wine production since you started your career?
Yeah, when I started my career, I think my predecessors or our predecessors had done a great job in the winemaking field, looking at controlling and monitoring fermentations, being consistent in the winemaking. I think our challenge of our generation was more to go back in the vineyard and really taking advantage of two new revolutions. One is a revolution. It's a revolution of how we farm. And that's really happened over the last 20, 30 years. And taking advantage also of the climate change. Champagne being so up north, we have very, very limited ripeness in our fruit. And now we have much more ripeness. So we can really increase the character, the dimension of our wines.
We have witnessed a spectacular reinforcement of the global popularity of champagne and more generally of the sparkling category for like a decade or so. How can you explain that?
I think champagne has been, 100 years ago, champagne was about dessert wine, sweet, and people were drinking it only at the end of the meal. More recently, half a century ago, let's say, it became aperitif, cocktail, celebration, and it really became very popular in the celebration world. And I think now champagne is having a next step, which is staying on the celebration side, but really also showing all its skills in ageability. So champagne can age very well and be very beautifully and develop gracefully with time, and people try to understand it. And second, it's a really gastronomic wine as well. You can really, because champagne is so light in alcohol, or lower than still wine, there is a bubbles, there is a freshness, the acidity behind the wine. So it's a light, really enjoyable and refreshing kind of wine that goes very well with food and with light food, especially like seafood. And it's also fun to open a bottle of sparkling wine because it's less serious than top cuvée of still wines. It's more maybe easier for the young generation to celebrate and open a bottle of sparkling wine, staying relaxed and not being so serious. It's a very, very large, versatile category.
What do you expect to be the major changes in champagne production within the next 50 years?
I think we have one challenge, which is the change of climate and the change of viticulture as well, and we have also to go away from overuse of pesticides. We need to decrease the use of pesticides in the vineyards because it's better for our soils. It's also better for our wine, and it's better for our families to use less pesticides. So this is one big change that is coming, and Champagne has moved greener and greener over the last 20 years.
Could we imagine a 100% full organic viticulture in Champagne in 50 years' time?
Not sure. Maybe not 100%, because I don't think there is just one way to do it, and I think we should be more. When you are too ambitious, sometimes you miss the point. So I think we need to be ambitious, as all the people who can do organic and who have the money to do organic and who have the added value in the finished product can do it. But then the other people who cannot do it because it's more difficult on the finance point of view or on the knowledge point of view, I think we should help them and to try to develop what I call sustainable kind of viticulture that will be in between, that will be maybe not fully organic, but that would be clearly decreasing the use of pesticides. And one way to do it is to go to increase what we call agro-ecology, which is in fact, to make it simple, it's make more agriculture and less chemistry in a way. So this is more work, this is more people, which is difficult sometimes to get. So you see, you have to find a fine balance, which is possible for people ambitious enough but not too ambitious, and you need to bring the full category, every type of grower in Champagne. As you know, in Champagne we have 15,000 growers, from very small grower who have another job, they cannot just live on the estate, to big growers who can easily live on the estate. And the level of knowledge and attention to details is not quite the same. So this is why Champagne is so complex, because we have to fight together, get together to make it better. Of course, some people will go faster than others, but let's not forget that there are different speeds, and we have, as a region, we have to get everybody on board.
So solidarity within the competition, basically.
Yeah, really stay collective. I really much believe, and I think it fits with the idea of ecosystem. An ecosystem is not just one plot. An ecosystem is a forest, is a whole coteau. This is all the vineyards. We are next door to each other. We are neighbors. So if you want to look at the big picture of Champagne, you need to look at the big picture of ecosystem. And this is the ecosystem that must be resilient and that you must regenerate first, and then move to the next step of viticulture. So it's gonna move. I'm sure Champagne, it's moving now, and it's been moving for the last 20 years. But I think it's will be greener and greener every year from now on.
You mentioned global warming as it becomes an increasing global concern, and Champagne has been investing a lot in research and development. What tools do you have to fight it?
First, we should not fight anything. So for me, it's not a fight. It's an opportunity.
Okay.
If you fight, you're in fear. You take wrong decision. I think our predecessor, the generations before us, have seen different climate. Vineyards come from the Middle Age. Pinot Noir comes from, as is 1,000-year-old. So it has seen a lot of different climates, from cool climate to warm climates. So it has adapted, and all our job is in the long term. So let's not be afraid. We have to do our share. We have to find solutions, and there are solutions. We just have to make sure this is the right solution. And I think the best tool we have for mitigating or adapting to the climate change is to rethink the whole processes of farming. We have to change a few things, from the pruning to the tilling to the soil management to the sunshine, the canopy, create shade sometimes, maybe replant some new varietals that were not planted on this place before, or use at a minimum the old varietal. We have many tools. We have to be careful of one thing only, is that we should not believe that we will find, it won't be one solution. It will be many solutions.
A combination.
A combination of many, many tools will help us mitigating and creating the magic out of the terroir, which is what we have been doing for many, many years. I can say it in a different way. In the 70s, here in Champagne, it was very, very cold, very wet, and the grapes were hardly ripening. So that was we were making green grapes and with agey green flavors, and I think it was very difficult to make a good wine from these grapes. It's much easier to make a good wine from ripe grapes. I think it's easier to fight against ripeness, to not to fight, but to adapt to ripe grapes than adapting to unripe grapes. So there are solutions. We just have to stick to our job, which is to farm, understand, read the climate, read the soil, make our soil very healthy and resilient, regenerate our soils, regenerate our vineyards. And if we do that, I think we have a nice future in front of us.
Can we imagine someday in a few decades to use fully other grape varieties to produce champagne?
Will it be champagne then? That's the question. I think, the secret of great wine in the world is adaptation to a specific climate. Many, many regions have shown their unique dimension adapting to the climate. So maybe we'll do something else. Before 1715, there was no sparkling wine in Champagne. It was just still wine, red and white.
Yeah, and actually, we can witness as well a reinforcement of the
Yeah.
still wine category under the appellation d'origine contrôlée Coteaux Champenois. You have the Cuvée Camille, for example.
Yes, we do. We can ripen some grapes further, and then we can express some different type of wine. So I think it's in movement. It's what we are learning is that things are moving, and we have to adapt. And this is a fantastic challenge for us. But we also must do our share of decarbonation. We should really, really go for zero carbon or carbon neutral production. This is our aim. And this is also our part of the effort, of the worldwide effort to decrease the carbon of the atmosphere. There are two dimensions in this climate change issue. There is what we can do to decrease our footprints, all footprints, not just carbon, by the way. It's also all pesticides and herbicides and so on. So decrease our footprint. This is our duty. And at the same time, to find new solutions to mitigate the climate. I'm lucky enough for this second part. I'm lucky enough to make wine, as you said, in Bordeaux, in Portugal, in California, in Provence. So with some very hot sometimes and dry conditions. So we have a good idea of what we make. For example, in Mendocino County in California, we make sparkling wine from Northern California, where it's hot and it's really dry. So, yet we make a good sparkling wine. So we'll manage to adapt, and this is, I should say, the genius of mankind to do it.
What is the craziest, not necessarily in a bad way, change that you can think that the viticulture would have to face in the next 50 years?
That's a good question. I think maybe the craziest change will be to forget, to leave the industrial farming, to repossess or redo real craftsmanship. I think what we are seeing is that over the years, the specialization in viticulture makes people really specialize in one part of the job and not the full part of the job. What would be crazy and what I would love in the future is that every single grower does all the jobs. That you can be on Monday pruning your vines, on Tuesday running your compost, and Friday maybe bottling your wine, doing all the jobs. And I think that would be very, very exciting and certainly very meaningful for everyone, and it will reinforce the craftsmanship behind each bottle and makes it even more special. For me, the craziest evolution of viticulture is that we will become haute couture. Everyone will become haute couture vigneron.
And what do you expect the taste of the wine to be like in 50 years' time?
I'm not sure I can answer this one because the champagne of today doesn't taste like the champagne of 50 years ago,
Mhm.
and which didn't taste like the champagne of 100 years ago. So
What is the difference between the two?
certainly, the dosage will decrease for sure. So there will be less and less sugar into the champagne of tomorrow. There could be an issue also about bubbles. Maybe the champagne of tomorrow would be a bit less bubbly, I would say,
Why would that be?
to get a creamier feeling, because to have less pressure to become creamier, softer. Because if we have riper fruit, we also have some tannins coming with the fruit, and tannins can interact with carbon dioxide. So I think the riper the fruit, the lower must be the pressure to not interact too much, to not have the carbon dioxide fighting with the tannins. Drier wine, so less sugar for sure. Maybe also we are coming from blends of champagne. Now we have more and more single vineyards or specific cuvée. I think in the future we'll see the return of blending, because I am convinced after 30 plus years of champagne making that this is a unique and fantastic tool, and maybe the number one tool to mitigate the climate and to make a consistent product or a consistent quality, to do this horizontal blending of different cru, different exposure, different terroir, different grape variety, and to do the vertical blending as well, from coming from older wines, reserve wines, aged in specific way. And this is why we launched last year, as you know, Collection, which is a new way to think about this magic of blending, or this art of blending. And I think we will see more and more blending in front. The blending is able to make exceptional wines.
Will the aging potential be as good as it can be today or as it was yesterday?
I think it will be better. Yeah, I think it will be better because, of course, we'll have less acidity, but we'll probably have more dry extract, more tannins, and tannins are a perfect antioxidant, so it's perfect for ageability. And also, I think we have, one big thing I have seen over the last 10, 15 years, botrytis is less and less an issue at harvest time. It used to be. So botrytis is, as you know, a mushroom that really develop on the berry just before harvest, and that can create an oxidation of the juice. And you don't see this fungus anymore. This in the vineyards, or less and less. So less botrytis means less oxidative fruit, and now we are focused, thanks to the CIVC, we are focused over the 20 years about oxygen management in our bottles and in our wines. So we have more and more better control of this oxygen. So I think our wines today are stronger than they used to be in the past.
Last question, Jean-Baptiste. What can we wish to Champagne for the future?
A lot of passionate consumers, which by their passion come to Champagne and show us their love for Champagne. And the more we have passionate consumers, the more we want to make exceptional wines. So we want this interaction. In my dreams, the perfect interaction. And we can see it now, more and more people coming from abroad, very well champagne, the terroir, and visiting growers often. All of that is only good, because I think it pushes everyone to be better, and to make the best effort to produce the best possible wines. And I think This is what makes Champagne very special now. I think the Champagne is really dynamic. There is with growers, with small growers, but also the houses. Everyone is really creative at the moment in the vineyards, in the wines.
A lot of youth as well, lots of young people.
Exact. The new generation pushing. And all of that is a fantastic, especially for an old guy like me, an old chef de cave. So it's no, not that old, but it's a fantastic development for the area, and it's really moving in the right direction. So Champagne should be full of bright, talented, young growers and winemakers, and plenty of bright, talented, passionate consumers, who will push every one of us to be even better and produce the best wine of tomorrow.
Thank you so much, Jean-Baptiste. Thank you for tuning into Wines of the Future. Don't miss the next episode and subscribe to this podcast. You can also leave us a comment and follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn at Vinexposium.